Еще раз приветствую. Сейчас тоже прочитает доклад Роланд Шавадзе, соавтор. Работай, пожалуйста.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roland. I am from Georgia. Actually, our topic of presentation is discourse analysis of education policy in Georgian case. This article has two authors, and my co-author is Irine GOSHKETELIANI, Professor of Batumi State State University. The discourse of education and policy documents plays an important role in educational process, and the analysis of educational normative documents on the relationship between education policy and language makes it possible to determine how regulations are constructed and created at the language level. Therefore, our goal was to study this function of political discourse based on educational policy documents. Among the policy documents in the field of education, the most important is Unified Strategy for Education and Science of Georgia, approved by the government in 2017. Which determines the educational policy in the country at all the levels of education. This document is the main indicator of the discourse of the state educational policy. So the research methods for the following. This study was conducted based on the existing articles related to the discourse of education. However, the novelty of education, especially Unified Strategy for Education and Science of Georgia. We have focused on the particular words in the documents and made a linguistic analysis to decode the intentions of the authors expressed through words in educational normative documents. At the beginning of the document, we have found a clear list of the successful projects implemented by the state. Focusing on successful projects leads an demonstration of those achievements in which words success, progress are especially chosen by authors of the text to achieve positive readership. So in this passage, you see on the screen, the progress indicates this positive readership. The narrative style in this document is formal but clear. Despite this success achieved in a certain direction, the system recognizes the difficulties. Therefore, after describing the achievement, sets new tasks that needs to be solved in the education system. In this part of text, such words as task, important task, etc. are deliberately highlighted. Actually, the new situations offered the education system different conditions, and important part of this condition is the concept of freedom. The political ideology of education in democratic states implies the contributing to formation of free individual as citizen. In Georgian context, the concept of freedom as a part of educational policy is widely represented in this discourse of the state educational policy. This is in turn convinces a citizen that the upbringing of free person is a valuable priority for the state. It is also important to present questions related to promising future. the state expresses a long-term perspective in educational policy discourse against the backdrop of the past achievements. Convincing readers of educational policy documents of promising future is an important part of the state ideology. Accordingly, in the documents, the words call, quality education, etc., naturally are used in order to arouse the addressee a feeling of concern from the state about a positive future, which convinces them a better perspective. The state policy regarding the right of education and universal access, in addition to the international agreements, is also expressed in the discourse of the text of educational policy documents. The words like equal access convinces a reader that the system has a goal to prepare each person for a future life. In the discourse of the state educational policy, an important emphasis is placed on the value component of the individual, which includes the issue of understanding universal values, in addition to protecting fundamental rights, commitment to democratic principles, a safe and tolerant environment are features of modern discourse. The text is declarative and future-oriented. And finally, in conclusion, we can say that when discussing the discourse of educational policy, it is necessary to take into account two aspects of it: politics as a text and discourse, and as a discourse. Politics as a text is an intervention in social context, while politics as a discourse is a written and oral communication in social context. Education policy documents are the expression of guidelines for achieving specific goals of the state, which are required from community involved in the educational process. Purposefully chosen words in the text of the education policy document serve to convince the addressee of the truth of the political views and strengthen the influence of regulation. In case of political documents, users are not involved in the policy development process. Consequently, incorrect interpretation of text is the reason for the incorrect implementation of educational policy. Thank you.
Спасибо, Roland.